Hi there, just a really relatively quick video about Nigel Farage. The reason for this is that there have been a lot of articles in the paper, in papers, a lot of articles, a lot of kind of opinion pieces, a lot of polls suggesting that Nigel Farage and reform are on the wane. And really, this is just a kind of look at that and a look at whether the kind of we've kind of we had reached peak Farage and peak reform, and if it's all downhill for them from now onwards. I mean, the first thing I just want to say, my title is has reformer in the name. That's purely in relation to the Reformation. I'm not a member of the Reform Party, just in case this is like a people think this is like a reform site. So that's the reason there's a kind of reformer in my name. It's regarding the Reformation. That most of the kind of videos on here are kind of theological, but just to give you that kind of background there. So there's been opinion polls now which have put Labour, the kind of newly kind of led by Andy Burnham, ahead of Reform. Reform who'd been leading for the last 2 years, I think, approx in opinion polls. Obviously, opinion polls are different from elections, but in opinion polls, he'd been leading for a long time. Also, there was a case of a kind of perceived a kind of scandal about donations to Nigel Farage, and also a case of Farage standing down as an MP in Clacton and calling a by-election, and all the main parties not actually standing, and kind of outmaneuvered him there. So he kind of looked a bit kind of, it looked like he'd made a mistake. It looked like he'd been outmaneuvered by those parties. And so there's a lot of articles, a lot of kind of opinion, like I say, suggesting that he's kind of on the wane and reformer on the wane, and they're kind of, counting him out. It kind of, from my observations of Farage, I don't think this is the case, and I think Andy Burnham will enjoy a honeymoon period, but the country is in such a bad state, in kind of every possible way, and the kind of global situation, kind of in Iran and Russia, makes things even worse. That I wouldn't rule out Farage or Reform. Now, that doesn't mean they're necessarily going to win the next election, but I don't think you can discount them. And I don't think you can start saying that Kemi Badenoch is the kind of main challenger on the right and not Nigel Farage. And as someone suggested that uh, Reform should merge with the Conservatives, and Badenoch should lead them. I don't think you can say that yet. And uh, I mean, recently we've had the sad death of Anne Widdecombe in what looks like a politically motivated attack. And you've also had the case of Nigel Farage complaining that, or suggesting that Zach Polanski should be arrested for sharing images of a kind of a Green supporter with a T-shirt that had a guillotine on it, and on the top it said "Making plans for Nigel." So, in reference to the XTC song, it was a suggestion from Nigel Farage, and also by Zia Youssef, that it is okay for left wing parties to advocate violence against right wing ones, but if the tables were turned, the right wing people would be in prison. And you can look at the case of Lucy Conley as an example of that, who was sentenced to 31 months for a deleted Facebook post. So we're in a situation now where Farage is probably on the back foot more than he has been since he re-entered politics. So, in summary, Labour um, ahead in the polls. He's fighting a by-election against the bin. None of the main parties have stood. So even if he wins, or he should win, but it, it's not going to look like an amazing victory. And an ongoing kind of um, accusations and innuendo about donations given to him, um, and about the people who gave those donations. So he's in a kind of in the trickiest situation he's been, I suppose, since he's been a Reform MP, and he's really now um, in a situation where he has to kind of kind of turn that momentum around and look to uh, get back on the front foot. I actually think he can, and I'll tell you the reasons why. I think he'll win that by-election against the Bin, um, and he'll make some points afterwards about a two-tier system, a system where left-wing activists aren't punished and right-wing ones are, and also the points he keeps making will still be valid. So the immigration crisis in Europe is not abating. I mean, we saw today actually in Ceuta just a kind of uh, I don't know what you'd call it, but loads and loads and loads of migrants storming into Ceuta, um, and it looked like especially for people on the right, like a kind of in inverted commas invasion. And I think things like that will play into Farage's hand. The fact that you might well have a full blown war between Iran and the West, um, and the idea that you have kind of Islamists in Europe, and Islamists that come to Europe either via um, channel crossings or just normally, who are hostile towards kind of Western or European values. Those issues will still be there um, whenever the next election is. So those issues he's quite strong on, and I think he polls quite well on. Also, the green issues, he actually was the only person, if you count Reform as the main party, as a main party, who objected to net zero. The Tories at the time implemented it, so that they're against it now, but they implemented it. Obviously, Labour, Lib Dems, Greens all support it. Um, so on that issue, he's actually probably he could say that he's had a consistent line for a number of years, and that it's been proven correct, and especially with the kind of prospect of a um, shortage in kind of energy and oil, etc., because of the wars in Iran and the war in Russia, that net zero looks like a kind of um, a luxury kind of proposed by um, kind of left wing kind of academic types. And so on that issue too, he looks quite strong. And the third issue is the economy. The economy is not in a great shape in Britain. And the things that Burnham is suggesting, I don't know if he's going to implement them, but the things he's suggesting would not ameliorate that and may actually make it worse. And we could be the end of some quite nasty economic shocks. So, for all those reasons, I think it's very kind of hasty and very premature to rule out Nigel Farage as a political operator and as a potential kind of prime minister. And if not prime minister, someone who gets a large number of votes at the next general election. And we don't know when the election will be. Um, Probably for Burnham, it's better if he calls it earlier than later, because if he goes on for 3 years, the economy will be worse, the immigration situation will be worse, and if he doesn't reverse net zero, uh, given the kind of climate in Iran and Russia, people will be angry. So, for all those reasons, it's very foolhardy to rule out Farage. And you've got to remember with Farage, he is a kind of mercurial politician, and he's a guy that kind of sticks out and kind of judges in a different way to other politicians. There's a touch of the kind of George Galloway's about him. There's a touch of the Reverend Dr. Ian Paisley's about him. He's a bit of a maverick. He's well known, and he actually, on a number of issues, probably has a position where most of the country will agree with him. So for those reasons, I would suggest that these articles I've been reading and the kind of mood music I've been hearing are wrong, and that Nigel Farage will still be a big player at the next election.